neural development is something that's very close to both yours and my heart. And I think anyone in functional neurology who can appreciate neural behavior in an adult has some form of appreciation. So for what happened in the earlier years, what link do you make, or what links do you make between neural development and our capacity to manage emotional life as an adult?
Neurodevelopment's probably the single most important thing that allows us to manage our emotions in adult life. You know, it's when you look at the development of the nervous system or of the brain, you can look at it in different ways. So you can look at the development in a vertical way.
Mm-hmm.
So from bottom to top, for example. So, you know, our spinal cord and brain stem are the lower parts of our nervous system, and they you know, we're stimulus response organisms, right? But we have different strategies to use these stimulus response circuits in order to survive. So from the brain stem and spinal cord level, we have reflexes to protect us. So you touch the hot stove and you pull your hand away, right? You don't need cognition.
You don't need to think.
You don't need to think. It just happens, right? And from the brainstem level, that's where we get more of the limbic centers and the amygdala and all of these more, what hypothalamus considered more of the emotional areas of the brain, and they allow us to react to different stimulations. You know, you have somebody cuts in front of you in line and you get angry, right? So these are reactions that we have. They're still responses to the environment, but they're a little bit more complex in how they're produced, right? And from the reflexive brainstem to the reactive limbic system, we now have the cortical levels, the most developed part of our brain, and this is where reflection occurs. So reflex, react, reflect. and to really understand that part of the brain and neurodevelopment, we have to look at how the brain develops really from a back to front direction as well, right? So our sensory lobes are in the posterior part, and our motor lobes, our responses are in the front, in the frontal lobe. And the last part to develop in neurodevelopment is that part of the brain that's in front of the front, right? It's the prefrontal cortex, the what's responsible for executive functions, right? So, and this is where emotional regulation comes from. It's that, you know, you think of the CEO, the executive of a company. This is where problem solving occurs. This is where prediction occurs, and this is where, you know, regulation occurs. So in a sense, these more evolved areas have an ability to inhibit the lower areas in the nervous system. So the brain can inhibit those emotions, emotional regulation. It can inhibit the reflexes that we have, you know. So when the doctor taps the knee, you know, he or she is not just looking for a reaction, but they're looking to grade the reaction. Is it too low or is it too much? You know, and a hyper reflexive tendon reflex is an indication that the cortex isn't working too well, right? Because it's not doing its job of inhibiting.